Okay, so the next one is it's a choking wrestling. It's not really meant to be a choking wrestling. Okay, I'll show you where it stems from. Okay, so I'm just going to have Graham bend over at the moment. He's not done particularly good at a shot or anything like that. He's come on with his back too flat. He's far too high. Okay, I'm going to go to chin control. So this hand's going to cup his chin, and I lay my forearm down the side of his head. So that happens, and I lay my forearm down the side of his head. Okay. Now my shoulder's going to go on top, just in between his shoulder blades up here. Okay. And this hand would grab on the back of his tricep, and now what I would do is I would sprawl and spray into the ground. So if I've caught him in this position, I would literally get over the tricep, up under the chin, and drive him down. And I'm not going to do that to Graham because it hurts. So he's going to go down on his knees, and I'm going to hold his chin, and I'm going to drive my shoulder in. Okay, so you can see that I'm driving my shoulder in. Imagine that I've pulled him into this position, and I pull this out. Okay, so that's one of my choices as he shoots in. So we'll do this nice and gentle and slow, so not to cripple poor Graham. He shoots in, I grab, I go here, and I drive him into the floor. And I use a lot of pressure on that shoulder. The idea is to pull his chin this way, and to pull his arm that way, and to drive my shoulder in the centre. So I'm actually here, driving a lot of pressure into him, okay? And wrestlers use that technique quite a lot. What we're going to do is, he's going to have a little bit of a crappy shot. Okay, so he's kind of shot in, and I've gone here, and I feel there's no pressure there, okay? I've kind of stopped him with some kind of forward hip movement or something. This hand goes onto the top of his tricep again, but I realise that I've got the top of his head, and I put it on this hip. Okay, so I've put the top of his head on this hip, and I've run my arm down the side of his neck, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to go underneath his arm, and I'm going to lift. Okay, so what I did was I went underneath his arm, and underneath his chin. This runs down the side of his head, now it goes on the hip, and I lift and drive my hip underneath him. Collapses the carotid arteries. It's pretty brutal and awful. So I'm in here, my hand goosenecks around the top of his head. I would normally go here and sprawl him into the ground, alright? We're not going to do that this time. We've kind of stopped him here, or he's stopped or something. I take my hand from here, I'm going to go underneath and lift, and then I put his head on top of my hip. Can you see that his top of his head's on my hip? And then all I'm going to do is, keeping my belly under there, is I'll lift and try and get his head to touch his hip. A lovely choke. We'll do it a bit closer to the camera. So it's called a kind of Cobra choke. I think that's supposed to be a goose, I suppose. It's a Cobra choke. Okay, so this, we'll do it on this side. Here, goes underneath here and runs along the side of his head. Alright? Shoulder in between his shoulder blades. Like I said, normally I would go here and splay him into the floor. It's really not a nice place for Graham to be. Alright? Instead of doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go under here, I'm going to go here, and my hand goes underneath his tricep. I feel his head on my hip. Okay? So this wouldn't be done from kneeling, by the way, but I'm just trying to do that so you can see it in the camera. See how it looks on the side of his neck? And then I'm just going to drive my hip in that direction. Alright? It's a really quick tap, and you can get away with it. What normally happens is they normally kind of splay themselves out on the ground to get it out, but it works really well.